So right now what I'm going to do is teach you how to slip and score something onto the surface. But first, let's pretend that there's a deep gash in the surface of this piece. If the gash is pretty deep, what I'll do first is put a little bit of water on the tip of my finger and run it over the gash and see if I can get rid of it that way. If I can't, I'll take this handy dandy rib and using the flat side, I will actually run it across the surface to get rid of the large gash. Then I will add a little bit of water to my finger and finish evening out the surface. I'm going to take my fork and I'm going to actually be creating some score marks. What I would like to add to the surface of this piece is a spiral. So I have created a coil that I can use, and as I make these marks, I can use the scouring tool, I can use a fork, or I can use a needle tool. And I always make sure that my marks look like X's so that the piece that I'm adding will actually stick to this better because of these marks. What you'll notice is instead of the two pieces coming together like this, I'm creating openings so that when they come together, they mesh well and dry into each other instead of drying and shrinking away from each other as they lose water. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take the coil that I've created for this and I'm going to add score marks to this. I am using my thumb to push the coil back as the fork pulls on it. And now I will pull my fork in the other direction so that I create a type of X. I normally do not run the fork up and down. I want any air to be able to escape. Now I'm going to take my homemade slip that I created overnight on my shelf. I'm going to fill this in with it. Normally we do not mix different types of clays, but so that you could see what I'm doing a little bit better, I'm going to use two different types. So I'm smearing the other slip on, and you could see how I've put plenty on and I have rubbed it gently into the score marks. I'm also going to coat my coil with this. I may not use this entire coil for this job, but I'd like to have it ready in case I do. Now I'm going to locate score mark to score mark, and I'm going to push the coil into the surface and line it up. My job is to try to push out as much air as possible between these two pieces as I work. The less air left in there, the lower the chance that the piece will actually blow up or come off. If I do not adhere these well to each other, this coil will definitely fall away. I'm going to remove some of the excess on the end of this, and I'm certainly not going to leave the piece like this. The real steps of this include scoring, slipping, and then smoothing, which is where I'm headed next. One of the things I can do is take an artist sponge, which is not a regular sponge per se because we only use it on our artwork. We don't use these to clean the tables. That's why we call it an artist sponge. And I'm going to add just a touch of water to it and remove some of my excess slip to clean it up. If I had used the same color clay as I did my piece, it would blend very nicely. Now I'm going to take my rib and I'm going to actually pull down around this piece in order to close up the crack that is circling it. This area, this crack, is the weak spot. If the air gets in between these two pieces as it's drying, they will dry away from each other as they shrink. When something loses water, it's almost like it's losing weight. It goes to shrink. I want these two pieces to shrink together, not apart. So I can use several different tools to do this. One of the other tools that I can use is a wood modeling tool. And what's beautiful about these is there's so many different shapes and so many different ends to them that I can work with. Also, another tool that I like to use to smooth with is a paintbrush. I'll dip the paintbrush in water and use it to smooth these things out. For now, though, I'm going to stick with this wood modeling tool. Look at how it's able to get in between to smooth out these crevices that I need to close the crack off with. And I need to go around the entire coil and begin closing up the crack. I can also remove some of the clay so that I can make the coil the same thickness all the way around the spiral. My first concern, though, is to close up this crack so that none of the air can get in between these two pieces and separate them as it dries. So my next tool that I'm going to pull out to help me in my work here, I'm actually going to use a wire tool, also known as a ribbon tool. True ribbon tools are a little flatter, but many people call these ribbon tools. That's what we do. So we're using this as a ribbon tool. The reason it's called a ribbon tool is when you pull clay off with it, if you were to pull it straight across, you'd get a ribbon of clay coming across it. And so I can come and remove some of the excess junk, and I can begin making a pile of my little pieces. And every so often I'll wet them, because this is good clay. And if I collect it, I'll have an entire ball that I can use. We definitely can't afford to waste that clay. Okay. I'm going to spray a little bit of water on this table and dip my finger in it and begin to smooth out this ribbon, this beautiful spiral that I am slowly creating on this piece. And as I clean this up, it's going to look better and better. But remember, it's not going to look perfect at first. The most important thing is to get it attached well, and then you can work on fixing up the images and the forms for beauty. And I would continue this on my own time. Thanks for watching.